storm with me, tell your neighbor, the good news is he controls the storm. He can control the storm. So that's why my subject said, God is in and can control the storm. He won't tell every storm to lay down, but he can tell the storm to lay down. So the good news is that tell your neighbor, neighbor, if I'm in the storm and he's abiding with me, guess who's in the storm with you? God is also in the storm with you. So if we continue our study on this book of Job, our general subject again says what? A storm within. Y'all need to grasp this because some of you got it. I'm not the only one who had a storm or going through a storm within a storm. And we know all that had happened to Job in chapter 1. Satan had told God if he allowed him to take away all, tell your neighbor all, of Job's possession. All his servants are gone before. They can't stay around because Job ain't got nothing to feed them. Got no money to give them no more. All he left is his wife. Cattle has died, been killed. Either they've been stolen or killed. And Satan told God that, God, if you allow me to take away his possessions, I'll really show you he's really not serving you. He's really not a righteous man like you claim, because he's only there because you have given him some materialistic gain. But God allowed Job's possession to be taken, and chapter 1 closes with Job mourning his losses. And that's all right. But it also closes with Job praising the Lord instead of cursing his holy name. Listen to verse 21 and 22 again. It said, Job said, and said, naked came I out of my mother's womb. Naked shall I return thither. He was saying all I had is gone. Listen to what he said. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the... How many of y'all can say it when you don't have that home that you thought you needed? You thought you needed. The car you thought you needed. How many of you can still, in the midst of it, say, the blessed be the name of the Lord. And it says in all of this, Job did not, he sinned not nor charged God foolishly. But I need to let you in on something. Tell your neighbor, but it seemed like Satan has lost. But Satan was not willing, and he is not willing in your life. Just kind of point at yourself for a minute. You might have come out of one storm, but he's not willing to give up it. I know you don't like it, but I'm telling you the truth. Satan is not willing. Remember, the whole thing started as Satan trying to get Job to give up, that's cursed, give up, turn his back on God. And it seemed like the battle is over, but we got some more fights. Because Satan would not give up easy. He will try another trick. Notice how chapter 2 opens. Chapter 2 opens, the first 3 verses are almost identical to verses 6 through 8 of chapter 1. Verse 6 of chapter 1 opens how? Y'all look at it right quick. Y'all, I want the first verse. First word. Now look at chapter 2. First verse opens how? These verses are almost identical. Let me read verse 6 of chapter 1. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came along among them. And tell your neighbor, that means he's there again. Because verse 1 of chapter 2 said, and he showed up again. Verse 2 and verse 7, God asked Satan a question. And verse 8, listen to verse 8 of chapter 1. And because they are really basically identical, and I want to read something. And it said, and the Lord said, y'all got your eyes on it? Unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job? There is none like him in the earth. Y'all see that? Perfect and an upright man. One that feared God and eschewed evil. Now that's how verse 8 is. But look at verse 3. Because if you start reading it, verse 3 is identical to verse 8 in that second chapter. But when you come down to eschewed evil, there is something on the backside of verse 3. Y'all want to look at it? And still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause. And some of you are here today just because things have happened, but since last week, there's some angels. Last week, Job it said that he had not gone through when verse 8 was written. But now, Job, when chapter 2 is open, tell your neighbor, his children are dead. All of his materialistic gain, cattle, money, all is. And so he said, hey, and then y'all dealt with some hands. You was working, but after they closed up the plant. Y'all with me? Everything was going fine until the doctor said, come back in. And so God said, and still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without a cause. Tell me, without a cause. Without a cause. Everything happened, we ain't in the wrong. But God said I had a purpose for it. But we need to know again, that Satan, as I said, will not give up because it seemed like you got away the first time. And so Satan comes back to God and said, God, I know you said he's holding his integrity. And I know he got away the first time, but give me one more chance. Since you said it, this is a faithful man. Since you said it, and that's what God said, didn't he? He was upright and perfect man. And God's answers Job. Y'all got your eyes on verse 4? Look at verse 4 through verse 6. And Satan asked the Lord, and said, skin, all that a man have, he will. But put forth thy hand now and touch his what? And his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. Now, notice, and I want y'all to rest something. We're going to bring this up again. Notice, Satan wanted God to do it. See, many times y'all go to this God doing it. God's not doing it. Remember, Satan told God, but what did God tell Satan? Look at verse 6. And the Lord said unto Satan, what? He's in thine what? But do what? But save his life. Now this is very important, for God told Job in verse 6 again, of chapter 1. He told him, as we read in chapter 1, he told Job that he could take all of his possession, but don't touch his body. Did he not tell him that? So now Job come back, Satan come back and said, God, if you let me touch his body. So what I'm trying to tell you is, because you didn't go through something on last week, does not mean it won't hit you. Y'all get the message? Because just because Satan got by, you can seem like he got by. This is why it tells us we got to hold on. We got to make sure that we put on the whole armor of God. Because tell your neighbor, Satan won't stop at one trick. Anybody know he won't? And so he goes back to God, and God gives him permission. And so he tells him, I'll tell you what, now you can touch his help, just spare his life. You can touch his help, but spare his life. First point I want to bring up is two little simple words. Well, there's a hand in the middle of it, but two little simple words. I know you're going to say, what in the heck are you talking about? Tell your neighbor, again, and after. Again, and after. And I guarantee you, when you get out of here, you're going to think about it again or sometime, and then you're going to think about the after. Why are you saying again and after? Storms of life are never over. As long as you're living, storms will come. As long as you're living, storms will come. Y'all ain't caught it. As long as you're living, storms will come up. Y'all got it over here. As long as you're living, storms will come in other words, just because you got out of one does not mean they're over. Remember, chapter 2 starts out with 8. And so all I'm trying to tell you, just because you got up last day does not mean you won't have problems on today. And so it says again. So look at verse 7 again. So went Satan forth from the presence of the Lord and smote Job. From the what? We find that Satan is again attacking Job after the storm he was already in. Because remember, he had not got out of the storm because we have not yet made it to chapter 42. He still does not have his children. He still does not have his cattle. He still does not have his sheep, his camel, or his servant. And so you would think that God would allow one storm to be over before another storm comes. And so after the storm, there is another storm. So it says a storm within a storm. So again, and after the storm, there's another. So tell your neighbor again. Tell your neighbor it's a storm within a storm. So again and after. You remember that one? You might not remember that two little simple words. Second point here. This one here is really hard. Because you may lose part of your support system. Job lost in the middle of a storm. Y'all ever heard that they said sometimes the towers are knocked out? Y'all remember one of the counties, and I don't think it was in Tennessee, how about the people did not give them the warning they were supposed to give them before the tornado hit? They lost their support system. And Job lost his closest support system. No one to rub him on the head. No one to encourage him. No one to bring stuff for him in his down state. No one to tell him, honey, it's going to be all right. I know we don't have the new car to ride in no more. But if we got to ride the bike, I'm going to be all right. I know we used to eat caviar. But if I got to eat chicken necks, I'm with you, honey. We started this together. And we're going to end it. Y'all ought to get this message by now. When the closest friend we thought was with us, Job's closest person should have been his spouse. You don't know how? Because really what happening was, listen to what happened in verse 9. Because instead of him having some companionship, he's now alone. Because verse 9, see, y'all got your eyes on verse 9? Then said his wife. Oh, y'all see that? She didn't just say it to nobody. She said it directly to, she didn't send him no message. You know, that's got to be tough. Laying there scuffling and you need somebody to tell, honey, it's going to be all right. She come here. I got some bad news for you, rascal. I'm serving you divorce papers on your sick bed. Listen to what she said. Dost thou still retain thy integrity? Curse God and die. And really, why this is so disturbing, why he was losing his support system, is because this was part of Job. I hope you're married couples. I'm trying to get y'all to feel it. This was part of Job that was telling him to give up. Genesis 2:24 says, therefore shall a man leave father and his mother, and shall unto his wife, and they shall be. So if they warn, if she's telling me to give up, that means part of me is telling me. Y'all got this message. If I don't see none of that, y'all see that's his support system. Instead of her encouraging him, she's now telling him to give up. But you need to understand that God has promised us something. And if we can remember his promises. Remember, God said that I will never leave you nor forsake you. And so whisper to your neighbor and say, neighbor, even when I'm in my storm, I'm never alone. Because who's in the storm with you? But you got to remember that, for if you don't know it, Brooke Pledge, when you get in your storm, and they come anyway. They don't just come on the outside, they come on your home, come on your job. You got to know God is there with you. If you know he's with you, you can call on him. And so he says that Job says to his wife, in the 8th part of verse 10, but he says to her, thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaking. Hold on. Remember, God never said Miss Job was perfect and upright like. Remember, they are. So Job lost his children. Oh, y'all get this message. Job lost all the camels and cattle and the thing. Guess what she lost? All the servants that used to wait on Job and used to wait on her, guess what? So before you trash Miss Job is also hurting. And God never said she was as strong as Job. And notice Job does not say she was a foolish woman. He says she talked like a foolish woman. And I want to put something in your thought for you to go home and check out. Now, when you get to chapter 42, and Job get his new family, he never heard anything about a new wife. Now, I don't know if she fathered the new children. I don't know. I've talked to other folks. I've researched the best I can. But you never said he heard and said Job got a new wife. So don't go trashing Miss Job. He said Miss Job sounded like a foolish woman. So sometimes we got to be the stronger in the battle. What she did is she allowed her situation to make her act like a foolish woman. And we've done some crazy things ourselves that we wish we could go back. First thing. First point is again and after. Real simple. 2 words. Kind of crazy, but it's real simple. And the second point is, sometimes our closest support system will let us down. Third point, and I'm going to leave y'all with this. Tell your neighbor. Our subject says, our third point, God has the master plan. Y'all ought to shout right now. Y'all ain't really talking. God has the master plan. Listen to the B part of verse 10. Job first asks a question, and he stops even with that because it sounds like he didn't say what. It sounds like he said, what are you talking about? Y'all see in your Bible? There's a big question mark behind what. And really what he said, shall we receive the good at the hand of God, and shall we not receive evil? That's really what he said in the text. Job was saying that God has the master plan. And really what he was saying to his wife, and we should say to us also, can you tell me why I received all that I received on the front end? You're crying about what you don't have. But have you looked at what somebody else don't have? What made you so special that you should be where you are? What made you so special that they looked past somebody else's resume and saw something good in? Y'all gonna get this message. And so really what Job was saying, because God had a master plan for me, if I have to accept the good, I must also accept that he has a bigger picture than just me. Because when we look at what someone else is going through, when we look at what Job went through, many can hold on because they know that there's a chapter 42. We may not all get double while we said for our trouble, but we hold on because we understand that if it's in God's power, rephrase it, if it's in God's will, because it is in his power, he can give us double. But if Job had not gone through it, if he had not taken Job through it. So Job said that sometimes we have to understand that because we are not the master plan and we are just a cog in the master plan, God has a greater picture, a greater assignment than we can even see. And because of us going through, somebody coming behind us might need to know that there is a God that's able to pick you up when the doctors shake their head. Somebody needs to know that when the job closes up, that they say your skills are not where it needs to be, God can still open up a window. Somebody needs to know because they need to see you not throw in the towel when a storm comes, but they need to see you endure and keep fighting on. So Job told his wife, you sound like a foolish woman. That's what she sounded like. He didn't say she was foolish, but he said you talk like one. Because he said that you got to understand, I can't curse God. I can't turn my back on God. Do you not know if God hadn't given us what we had, we never would have had it in the first place? And so looking at what you don't have, look at what God has already done. Somebody said he brought me so far now. I remember, and I talked about it, and I'm glad that we're where we are. Don't have much, but I remember when we was down on Tulip. 53, 59, I think, 50-something down on Tulip. Had forgot the address. Down on Tulip, they called the little town Turd. And I said it before, and I used to be ashamed to say it, but now God makes me realize that I could have left you down on Tulip. But he brought us out of Tulip. Not anything wrong with Tulip now, but he just said, you understand that it wasn't because you were so good. Because there's other folks much more educated, do much better than you. But he said, but I brought you from an outside toilet. Yeah, we had an outside toilet, I need to let you know. Didn't have hot water in the house. But isn't it strange how we made it did without it? Because we trusted in God. Now I got my own bathroom at the house. My wife make me go in your mind instead of using hers. When I go in hers, she won't get upset. But one time we didn't have but one. But isn't it strange how we forget where God had brought us from? And that's all Job was doing. Job told his wife, I can't let you forget who gave it to him. If God gave it, if he says some trouble got to come in my life, I got to accept the trouble. One thing Job did say that was a little wrong. He said that if we receive good at the hand of God, shall we not receive evil? God did not give the evil. It was Satan that was giving the evil. Remember, Satan told God, you go do it. And Satan said, no, I don't know. I'm going to put it in your hand. Now, God will chasten us when we are wrong. But God had allowed Satan to do. And so all I'm trying to tell you is today, that remember that you're just part of the master plan. And although his closest support left him, he did not down God. For he said in his mind, if God brought me through the first set of storms, he can bring me through these storms. And you need to tell your neighbor, I'm just part of God's master plan. And in his master plan, God said he will not leave me nor forsake me. And if he's in the storm with me, he can also choose, he can say, like Jesus said in the midst of the storm with the disciples, he can walk out on the ship and say, peace be still. And the storm, no matter what they are, will obey him. All of our storm won't end in the peace like on this side, like they did on that ship. But whatever the outcome be, we got to trust God that he has something better waiting for us on the other side. Because when you think about it, tell your neighbor, we're all part of the master plan. Because we all had a death sentence on our way to hell. But God's master plan included sending Jesus to redeem us or pay for our sin debt. He did it when he went out on Calvary, was nailed to a rugged cross, was put in a borrowed grave. But the good news is the grave couldn't hold him. And early on the third day morning, he rose with all power. Power to save souls from hell. Power to give eternal life. Power to rescue us from the storms of life on this side. And when this life is over, the good news is that God said he will provide us with an eternal home. And I don't know about you, but I'm looking for that eternal home. But while I'm over on this side, even in the midst of my storm, a storm within a storm, I got to hold on to God's promise that he said he will never leave me nor forsake me. So tell your neighbor, when you encounter your storm, within a storm, remember, God said in his will never leave you or forsake you. And so when you get in your pity parties, within your storm, remember who's with you in the storm. You don't have to be worried about who else got a storm, because all of us got storm. But remember who's in the storm with you. Tell your neighbor, within my storm, God is with me. Because if he's with me, if I'm in a storm, he's also there. And the good news is that God can control the storm. And Job said in these words, I'm not going to give up, for I've already. And I want to close with these words. And many of you can say the same thing. How many of you have already been through some storms? Nobody but a few of y'all? Oh, I'm glad that y'all hadn't been in the storm. Well, I think all of us have been through some storms. And the good news is that you're still here. And I can tell you, and I don't have to worry, you didn't make it on your own. But Job said, I've already been through some storm and some rain. And he said, but I've been through some storm and rain, but y'all know the song. He said, I've been through some storm and some rain, but I made it. And I didn't make it on my own. I made it because God was, the old folks used to say it like this, he was walking with me. He was talking with me. And he was telling me when I want to give up that I'm his own. And he told me to keep fighting on. And because God is with me, tell your neighbor, neighbor, I can endure the storm because I'm just part of the master plan. And his plan said that if I trust in him, he'll give me eternal life on the other side. Do a little church open. I don't know about you, but I'm glad today. And one songwriter said it like this. And I think Jim Patterson, one of his final songs that he sung, he said something like this. Look where God has brought me. Anybody here but me? Look at where God. Don't worry about where you're at right now, because you might be going through some storms right now, but if God brought you already, how many of you acknowledge that you really got more than you ever thought that you had? I know some of you had big dreams, but really, if you really think about it, look at some of your neighbors and some of your friends, and they're really not where you are, and they really wasn't no worse than you are. Matter of fact, some did better things in school than you did. But Patterson sang that song and said, look where he brought me. Anybody ashamed to say it was all because of God's grace and God's mercy? I don't know about you, but I'm glad today that I'm part of his master plan. And if I'm part of his master plan, hardly, I don't know why I'm going through some of the storm, but I know one thing, that if I'm part of his master plan, he said that in the end, the songwriter said, I'll fly away